Hey guys, we're going to talk to Sean. Now, Sean has been on a couple videos with me already. We had one video where he packed everything except the kitchen sink, put everything in a container and brought it here to the Philippines. We also showed the new house that he just built here in Darwin. Before we talk to Sean, I want to tell you a little bit about Sean and his wife. Sean is 56 years old, retired military, U.S. Navy, also worked at the VA and retired from the VA. Mars, or Marcia, Mars is what her friends call her, 54 years old. She's a retired nurse working in the medical field in the United States. Sean and Mars have been together for 25 years, married for 24 years. And Mars is 54 years old, and they're living a happy retirement life here. This is where they've decided to have their home. Sean and Mars have planned this house for many years and planned this move to the Philippines for many years. So let's talk to Sean and ask him some advice on building a house here in the Philippines. So you've moved into the new house.
Yes.
And how long have you been here now?
About a week.
About a week. And when did you first start the build?
November 14th, 2023.
So almost exactly 1 year. Is that what you planned? Did you plan on 1 year?
It was supposed to be a 10-month build, but something slipped. The typhoon came through, which cut Manila short because they flooded, so we had to wait on the roof materials for a little longer than we expected. I'll tell everybody who comes here who plans on doing a build, there's a whole long process of finding the right lawyer, finding the right contractor, but you have to be involved. Unlike where you come from, America, even Europe, where you can say, hey, this is the model I want, and go build it for me, and then when they're done, you move in. No, here you need to be involved every day.
Every day.
You need to be here to check when deliveries are made. Go out and check the hollow block. I think the first 2 deliveries we received, I went out there and grabbed it and just crushed it in my hand and said, nope, return them.
So you have to double check the
You
quality.
need to double check the quality. You need to double check that what you're bringing in is, this is what's in the contract. And the contract says 14 and 16 millimeter rebar, and you're bringing me 10. That won't work. So you have to be able to double check what you're doing and keep your foreman and your contractor honest.
Now you live close to the build.
Oh, yes.
You were just down the bottom of the hill. Was this almost every day that you were up here?
Twice a day.
Twice.
We'd come up at 8 to 10 because they started at 8. And usually around 10 it started getting hot enough. We're like, okay,
time for me to go.
Here's my whip card. I'm out here. And then we'd come back around 3 to 5 because that's when they ended.
How big a lot is this?
2,403 square meters.
And the house size is?
310.7 meters. So 3,336 square feet.
Well, that's a big house. Looking for your initial contractor. And there's so much, you're on top of this just like I am with the problems guys are having with contractors. How can they avoid a problem with the contractor?
First off, get a good lawyer. Every time you run into a contractor, you're going to sit down, do your interviews with him, have him write up his proposed contract. It should state in that contract exactly what materials, everything. The columns, the rebar, the concrete, what type of concrete. Is he using the middle grade or is he using the premium? What size hollow blocks do you want? Do you want the 4-inch, the 6-inch? What type of materials are you putting into your house? You have to think of everything. It's not like America where you come in and everything's already there. You have to actually think about it, including the driveway. Do you want the driveway done? You have to make sure it's in the contract. Or your contractor is going to give you that little grin that they like giving you and say, it's not in the contract.
So that contract a lot of guys are getting now is pretty vague. It says once a wall's up, once a roof's up.
We took a look and said our contract was for 10 months. So we broke the project down into 10 equal parts. And I made sure to put on that contract when done. So he doesn't hit that beyond the initial 20% he got up front to start getting the materials and the workers and so forth. He had to complete each step before he got paid for that step, which kept him honest because until that step's done, it's his money paying for it, not mine.
He wasn't going to be getting a check
exactly
at the 30th of each month. He had to complete something.
It wasn't a 30-day process. It was when you complete this stage, when the foundations are in, you get a paycheck. When the walls are up, you get a paycheck. When the roof is on, you get a paycheck. When the ceilings are in, you get a paycheck. When the tiles are down, you get a paycheck.
That's probably the best thing to do as performance goes. Every
Well, not only
stage.
that, but each of the stages you're going to be wanting to put in there that it's the owner's choice. So you get to choose which tiles go in. You get to choose the drawers. You get to choose the windows. We had a separate contract for all the cabinetry.
So the internal work.
Yeah.
He built the shell, the house. There were some other things he did, but the cabinetry in the kitchen, beautiful kitchen, the tile work, the floors, the hardwood floor, that was all secondary contract.
Subcontractors. And you're going to run into little hiccups here or there. I mean, getting tile and getting it in enough quantity of the type you want, we ended up having to make multiple orders.
You made a lot of trips up to Cebu.
We went to lots of Cebu. We went to Bacolod. We hit all the local stores just to find the one tile we wanted. You have to be willing to work for it.
Was this as hard as you expected, or did it really, in reality, you knew it was going to take a little bit of extra time and the aggravation that you might have had?
Well, I've never built a house from the ground up, so I already knew that going in it was going to be some aggravation here and there. And the biggest aggravation, of course, was my wife, because she was
nervous.
Nitpicker. She wants everything to be perfect. I mean, I don't blame her. The house would have turned out completely different if she hadn't been that way, and you need to be that way as well when you're building a house, because this is your house. Do you want Filipino standard, which might be okay for the average everyday Filipino, or do you want American standard?
Luxury style. How many years ago did you decide on the plan that you were moving to the Philippines to build a house?
5 years.
You're one of those what Greg and Wim will call 10%ers?
Yes.
And you come here, your wife.
You're already married. You already come here with the plan of buying land and building a house, a retirement home.
So you knew you were going to build a house this big.
I don't know if we really planned on this big. It's just when we took a look at the furniture we have and the fact that we didn't want to be, because we've had small homes and we've had 3,600 square foot homes. And it was like, I want a big home. I want hallways that are big, because at some point we're going to get old enough to where we're going to have difficulty getting around, or we might be in a wheelchair. It's easy with a 1-story with big wide doors, with big wide hallways, easy way to getting into bathrooms. So we already planned for 15, 20 years down the road when I'm hitting my 70s.
Now, you brought everything over.
Yep.
We've talked about that many times now. The design of the house always had in mind the furniture that you were bringing.
That's correct.
Furniture that you have. It's all quality furniture, heavy wood furniture, and it seems like everything fits somewhere. And you've made adjustments for that furniture.
Oh, yes. Our original design was only 242 square meters, and we expanded to 310 because we expanded the master bedroom, one of the guest bedrooms, and the bathroom out a little, but we also expanded the living room, dining room area here by 3.4 meters. We pushed it out just so we could have enough room, because I said, why have this giant table with 2 extra leaves in it if we can never use the extra leaves? We went ahead and changed the design, because once they started putting up the walls, I said, this is not going to work. So we stopped them right there and then, got back with our contractor who redid the design, and we pushed it out.
Now, guys who are coming to build, you had the 5-year plan. You came here, you got an attorney. First thing you did was you got the land.
We started in 2022. Just as soon as they lifted the travel restrictions, we came over
and bought something.
And we looked around and found this piece of land here, which met our requirements, which is it's right on the concrete road. I don't have to worry about right-of-ways. And even when you get a right-of-way, then they may not grant you the right to cement it. So you're now on a bumpy dirt road trying to get. I didn't want that. So we found this property, and it was, okay, it's way too big, because it's actually 2 lots at 4,800 square meters, but we're only using half of it. But it was plenty of room. Gave me a chance to put up the fence so I can keep the dogs inside in the yard.
So now you have the property, and you said you found an attorney. But how did you decide on the contractor that you decided on? Did you interview multiple contractors?
We did 6 or 7 contractors, actually. And what I looked at is, that's why I have an attorney, because we take a look at their contracts. A guy comes in with a 1-page contract with all vague. I'm not one to deal with him. You have the guy who comes in, he has no equipment, he has no office. You really want to trust him with your money? He has no reason to not take your money and run. Versus the contractor I have, because with each one, we called the lawyer, and he called the clerk, the county courthouse. How many claims are against this guy?
So you check their legal background.
Yes,
that
we
they
check
have
to see
also-
how many claims they have against them for not paying their suppliers or walking away from the job. Because those are giant red flags to me. Why would I want to pay you when you've already walked away from 2 or 3 jobs and didn't finish them?
And did you look at their equipment? You know, a lot of these contractors send people out with just shovels,
Yes.
and you wanted somebody with it.
You want people with equipment. You want to be able to go out and see, hey, show me your tractor, show me your backhoe, show me your cement mixer. The concrete floors, when we put them in, we had him go and get the big dump truck, the concrete trucks, versus just making a little load at a time. I was like, no, we want this done in one pour. And they did it in one day. I think it was 8 or 9 trucks came in and they poured it right through the window. We smoothed it out for the floors.
So you're
Now-
friends with Greg and Woman,
Yes.
and they got an early start. They did it right, just like you've done it right. But they had a big advantage.
Oh yeah.
They came early.
They got here
Pre-COVID.
before COVID, so the prices were much lower.
People needed work.
People needed work. Now after COVID, there's all kinds of work, and prices have shot through the roof. So it's not quite as cheap or inexpensive as what they did.
I think a lot of complaints I hear is people they can't get the workers. You can't get enough people on the job site because there's so many projects going on right now.
That's true. And a lot of workers here are basically day pay. They get paid per day they work. So they look at, hey, this job's only got 2 months left, and that job over there is starting, and that's a new job. So I can get 6 months out of that one. So they'll leave.
And did you have any issues with labor?
No,
None whatsoever.
none whatsoever. Because a lot of the workers with my contractor are long term. They've been with him for 18, 20 years.
So he had his own crew.
So he has his own crews. But there were some of the things you can look at is when you're talking to your contractor is you want a package deal. It's a 6-month contract, or let's say in my case, it's a 10-month contract. And you do a package deal saying, okay, if they get done at 8 months, they still get 2 months of pay for free.
Oh, so you made an incentive.
It's incentive to try to get it done early is what you do. And that's why you keep your workers, because they know if we get it done early, I'm going to make more money versus I get paid by the day. So the longer this takes, the more money I make.
What is the biggest mistake you think people are making when they're coming over here to build? It seems like there's a big rush. People are selling their home in the U.S., coming over. They think they can build a home here really easy.
It's not.
It's not easy.
It's not easy.
I think it's harder than back home.
It's much harder because you have to be that much more careful with who you're investing your money with.
Do you think people trust too easy?
Very.
Sweet talked here. I
Very.
think a lot of guys, a lot of couples get sweet talked by contractors.
I think some of the things you have to think about is, unlike America, there are no laws here to protect the consumer. And you are the consumer.
Once you give them your money,
And once you give them your money,
you ain't getting
the recourse you have is civil. I'm going to take you to court, which could take a year or more or 2. And they might make 1 or 2 payments to you, and then they'll stop. And then you're right back to court again. They play the long game here. They know most foreigners who come here are older and don't have the patience for wanting to drag this out.
So
they'll steal your money from you.
So they'll sign you up, you put your deposit down, and then they can string you along. I don't think I would deal with somebody who has too many jobs going on. You sort of like want a little bit of hunger in the guy to hurry up and get it done. Did you look at his finished work from other jobs?
That's part of the interview process. Is I want to go see your equipment. I want to go talk to 3 different homes that you've built and talk to the people who live there. If they're not letting you do that, they don't have equipment, they don't have places they're willing to take you to show their work, giant red flag to me. I'm not using you.
Did you have any issues with permitting? Getting
No,
permits?
actually, it was pretty easy because we wouldn't let them start on anything until they got the permits.
So
the fence, the house, whatever, we had permit in hand first, then you can start. So it put the incentive on the contractor to hurry up and get down there and get it done so they could present us with the certificate.
So people being told, we'll start today and the permit will be here, don't worry about it.
And next thing you know, 6 months later, you have a house and they still haven't permitted to build it in the first place.
And that could be trouble.
And that's a lot of trouble.
Now, you have a unique water situation here. I remember last year we had a severe drought.
Oh, yes.
And we didn't get, the water was out for a while. You bought an extra big tank?
I had a 4,000 liter tank made.
Specially made.
Yeah, we ordered it from Cebu, had a 4,000 because the biggest tanks over here are around 2,000 liters.
So
And I was here on vacation in 2017 where they were actually bringing water trucks up to the mountains to give people water because there was no water. And then we went through the 4-month drought here, and I was like, no. It's a good thing I was already thinking about this when we did the contract, and I made sure it was in the contract specifying what size tank I wanted.
So you have the extra large water tank, which should supply you if there is an issue. For how long do you think 4,000 gallons will last you?
There's 2 of us. If we ration it, we should be able to 2 months.
2 months.
Easy.
So that should be able to cover
Most things.
Most things here in the Philippines. Let's talk about your power.
Mm-hmm.
You have multiple receptacles everywhere, especially in the bathroom. And you were talking about you have 220 and 110?
Yes. We bought the transformer from Polaris, and Norelco, which is the electric company, installed it out here on a metal pole. And it's 2 transformers in one. The top half is the 220 transformer, and the bottom half is the 110. So my house is wired for both. That way, our electric stuff that we brought with us and all the kitchen appliances that we brought with us, we can still use them until they eventually wear out. And when everything's worn out and gone, then I can go out there and turn off the 110 breaker or something.
But also, if you have friends or family come from the U.S.,
they
don't have to worry
them.
about what they bring, and that solves a lot of problems and concerns people have. And you're planning on solar.
I'm planning on solar, and I'm also planning on a 20 kilowatt generator. We've already wired for it. There's already a spot for it. I just have to find and buy it.
So if the power goes out from the municipality,
I'll have
and then it's cloudy and rainy,
I still have the generator.
let's just hope they don't run out of fuel.
And if all of those go bad, well, I guess we're just going to be in the dark. Get over it. I got candles.
Now your wall, I've been watching people building walls, and Janet and I bought a small piece of property, and we're thinking of putting a wall. But your wall was done differently, underground where you can't see. It's sort of like a pyramid shape of rocks and concrete, and the wall's built on top. Why?
Our land is slightly tilted, and when we backfill it, that's going to put a lot of dirt there. And if you just have a normal hollow block wall, that dirt will push the wall over.
So
it's just too much weight, especially when it gets wet.
More of a retention wall.
So when we put the retention wall in, it's a meter thick at the bottom. It's almost a half meter at the top, and then we put the concrete wall on top of that because it won't have any weight on it.
Now I see
the retention wall will hold it.
Now you guys see how big this backyard is. I've recommended that he buys 2 or 3 cows, but he's not. He's going to. I think you're going to build a dirty kitchen.
We're going to put a giant entertainment / dirty kitchen out back, and eventually, someday, if we can get the giant city water pipe out of the middle of the backyard, I'm going to put a pool back there.
And then a pool. That's all future. So a lot of people trying to get everything done right away. And
if you have the money, go for it.
Go for it.
I got the house. That's the big thing. And now it won't take very long to save the money to do the dirty kitchen. And then a few months after that, I'll have enough money saved up to go ahead and start on the solar. I'd say come back in a year. By then, we should have most things done.
I hope we're back more often than that. No, for the birthday party and food. Look at this kitchen back here. She's supposed to be a good cook, Mars. Sean, we did that last video.
Yes, we did.
And I said, this is funny because Janet had to remind me to do this, that you're bringing everything but the kitchen sink.
Yep.
You brought the kitchen sink.
Yep.
I want the story.
4 months later, we went back to the States, which was our normal visit, and we were at SNR. I was at SNR, and I saw a sink, and I made the mistake of sending a picture to my wife, and she's like, "That's the one." Costco. So we bought it. And when we came back that time, we had 3 suitcases instead of 4 and the kitchen sink in a box.
And you brought that on a commercial airline.
Yes.
That's one hell of an expensive sink.
Well, when we looked around here, because we went to several places in Cebu, we went to Bacolod, we went all the local places, and there was just nothing of substantial quality.
Yeah.
They were okays, but they just weren't quality. And I wanted that Kohler sink. Well, my wife wanted it.
Yeah.
More than I did, but we wanted quality.
So they brought everything but the kitchen sink, and then Mars said, "Oh, I forgot the kitchen sink." Went back and got one and brought it. Well, we're glad she brought it, and I'm expecting a good meal out of her.
If you're bringing a container over and there's empty room in there, it doesn't hurt you to bring those essentials. You know, if you're going to build a house, go go ahead and get the kitchen sink. If you have a specific type of toilet you want, buy it, put it in the box, and ship it with your container.
Guys, you got to watch the video about Sean bringing everything over in the container. I'll put a link at the end of the video and down in the description. But a lot of guys are going to look at this and say, man, this is such an overkill. And the guys that are going to say are people like me. I'm 70, 75 years old. I'm only going to, if I get a decade, I'm happy. You're a young man still.
I'll be 56 here in a week.
56, but you're looking 30 years,
Yeah.
you know, 25,
Hopefully.
30 years. So you're building, you know, the house to last you 20, 30 years.
It's not just for us.
And then you have
it's
children.
for our daughter because she's a dual citizen. So 30 years, my daughter will be in her 50s.
Right. And
So it won't be too long before she decides, you know what, I've had enough and I'm
Coming
going
over
to go here and retire home in the Philippines.
So this is more of building wealth for the family.
For the family.
Here in the Philippines. You're also thinking of digging a well.
Oh, yes.
For the water. Have you seen anybody else dig a well around here? Is that
yes.
something that's common?
Oh, yes.
Is it costly?
It can be.
Now you're
It depends on how far down they have to go.
You're farther down the mountain, so you have less. Hopefully, you dig to the water.
The halfway cafe is the one I use as an example. Is at the same exact elevation I am. And they're about a mile that way. They went down 165 foot. I'm still looking at about $10,000 or $15,000 to put in a well.
So, but you're covering for all the big things that might happen, not just, you know, a 10-minute lights go on or off.
No, what I'm planning for is the typhoon like the one in 2020, which took out all the power lines, the water lines, everything. Everybody was without water and without power for over a month.
So you're preparing.
So you have to prepare for something like that. Granted, we're on the inside islands, so we don't get hit by the typhoons like the outside islands do, but that one in 2020 came in. So we're a lot like Alabama or Louisiana. We don't get hit very often because Texas and Florida gets hit. But when it does hit, it's ugly.
Your background. You're retired military.
I'm retired military, 24 years in the Navy, and then I retired after 12 years from the VA.
And your wife also is retired.
Yep.
What did she do? Was she a cook? I heard she's a good cook.
She's a good cook. She was a health unit coordinator at the hospital.
So she had a good career.
Yeah.
Both of you had a good life in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
And you planned on this move here to the Philippines for a long time. You married a Filipino, so you visited, and you're going to be here for a long time.
I couldn't do this in the States.
No.
I mean, you can, but there's so much more I can do here. My money goes so much farther in some ways here. There, I'd be 83 before my mortgage was paid off. You trade in your cars every 4 or 5, 6 years, so you got a car. I don't do that here. Here they do car payments, they do mortgage payments, but they're usually very short term.
Mm-hmm.
So it's better off just go ahead and save the money and buy it. So there, at the end of the month, after paying all the bills, I've got $1,000 to play with. Here, the house is paid off, the cars are paid off, the land's paid off. I have the electric bill. I will have Starlink, which is $45, and I have my American cell phone. So I have like $4,100 a month now to play with to do whatever I want.
So you say your budget once you're in the house and everything's hooked up,
yeah,
$500, $600, $700 a month.
At most. So now we can start taking those vacations and go see Europe and go see Africa and go see the other places in Asia that we haven't gone.
That dream retirement.
Go to America once a year so we can see the daughter and buy a box full of junk food that I can't get here.
Living, that's the American dream, guys. And people who say you're leaving the country or for whatever reasons, your dream is you work hard your whole life. You make the right decisions, and if you're lucky that you made the right decisions, nothing bad happened to you, you can have the life that you want, and you have to plan for it. And that's something Sean and Mars did. They took 5 years. I'm sure they planned this a little bit more than 5 years. Their life plan was always to retire and have a nice home. So,
but we really didn't get serious until the 5 years before we actually did.
Coming
and
here,
then COVID was the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were, and we're done.
Got here. Are there any last things you want to share that I missed about people who are taking the chance of building their home?
Take it slow. Do your homework. Be very thorough. That's why I said get a good lawyer to start with, so he can investigate each of these guys that you're wanting to potentially do a contract with. Make sure the contract is very detailed. They should be everything in that contract, from what size pillars, what size rebar, what type of concrete. what type of roofing materials, what kind of windows. I mean, everything should be detailed in there that you could take the contract and go, hey, I'll get back to you in a week to sign it after I've had a chance to go and take a look, go to the hardware store and hey, show me this. Oh no, this is too flimsy. I want something more.
So guys, have a good contract. Everybody says things are simple in the Philippines. Things are done, with a smile. But when it comes down to building a house, having somebody handle your money and handle your future, make sure you have all the
It's not
details.
just the house, buying land.
Buying the land, I'll tell you all
Get that
about
lawyer
that.
to verify that hey, that doesn't make the people who are trying to sell it sign the official document saying there's no liens or nobody's pawned it or this isn't being sold the second or third time now. Make sure it's all legal. Whose name's actually in the main recorder's office? You're not even on the title, so why are you trying to sell it to me?
And Janet's over there talking and being cute. Until next time, thanks for watching, guys.